Dr. Shabir Ally, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
Fun as always.
Are you excited for Ramadan?
I am, yes.
So, I guess people, Ramadan is in a day or two, and, people are thinking, how do we get ready for Ramadan? What are your thoughts? How do you prepare?
Well, Muslims generally treat Ramadan as a guest, and just as we might prepare for a guest by making sure that we are dressed nicely, we clean up the house and so on, but there's some preparation that's needed for Ramadan. And while we may do some of these things, put on good clothes or, beautify the house, clean it up and so on, that's not what is essential here. What is essential is a spiritual preparation. One has to, in a way, get into the mood for Ramadan. One has to think consciously, okay, it's not like the day of Ramadan is there and then you suddenly wake up and smell the coffee and realize, wait a minute.
Well, no coffee, actually.
Okay. All right. No coffee during the daytime of Ramadan, right?
Yeah.
But it's not that you suddenly realize it's Ramadan. You need to be thinking about it before. So there is a prayer that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is reported to have prayed from months ahead, from the 2 months ahead. So he says to God, basically, bless us this month and in the next month, and cause us to reach the month of Ramadan.
Mm-hmm.
So that means there is an anticipation in the mind of the Prophet, peace be upon him, to get to that month. And of course, when people look at this from the outside, non-Muslims may be thinking that what we know of Ramadan is that Muslims can't eat during the day. So they must be thinking, oh, these poor Muslims. But devout Muslims actually do look forward to receiving Ramadan. And it is their hope. Oh my God, please help us to find another month of Ramadan.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think at the same time that Muslims are excited, a lot of them are also anxious because Ramadan is difficult. We can't deny that it's difficult.
True.
Right? If you're working, long hours, it can be really hard to not drink or eat during the day. So it's a challenge.
Yes, this anxiety that you spoke about is real, and it is for this reason that I feel personally that Muslim scholarship has not risen to the challenges that Muslims face well enough. And this is a challenge in the summer months. Now, it's getting better because the month is moving earlier by 11 days each year. And this year, it's a little better than it was last year.
The day is slightly shorter, yes.
But it's still the fact that many of the Ramadan days are there smack in the middle of the summer. The days are long, the nights are short, and it was not meant to be like this. Like when the divine legislation came down to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, 1400 years ago, it was not given like this with extreme lengths of days in mind. It was given for a fairly normal sort of day that would have been found in Mecca and Medina. And it is for this reason that many modern scholars say that where the day is extremely long and the night very short, Muslims living in those regions can follow the timings either from the city of Mecca in Saudi Arabia or from the city of Medina in Saudi Arabia, where the day and night are more equally and evenly balanced. Mm-hmm. So then where does it become like too difficult? So this is where the scholars hesitate to call the shot here, but they leave many Muslims in a quandary and with this kind of anxiety. And I think this is too much because you can only push people so far before you push them out of the religion altogether, and we should always be on guard against that.
So what do you think? Where would you define difficult then?
Well, it cannot be a one-person call. Some people can be bold and brave and make a call, and then suddenly we realize that other people are making the same call as well. I've already, in a way, pushed the boundary by suggesting that this is a possibility. So let's see if other scholars will agree that this is a possibility or a necessity even, and then we can come to the drawing board and say, okay, these are the cities where it is or this is the altitude at which quite clearly we need that solution.
Mm-hmm. So I guess ahead of Ramadan, maybe you need to make a decision about, whether you're going to fast and when you're going to begin, because in North America there's this, decision that people have to make how they're going to start the month of Ramadan, when the moon will, when they will see the moon or when they will rely on calculations, those sorts of things. So a lot of things need to be figured out ahead of time, ahead of Ramadan.
Yes, an interesting case has occurred. The city of Peel, or the region of Peel, in the Mississauga area, just on the outskirts of Toronto, have declared that Ramadan will begin on May 6th, and the Eid will be on June 4th. And because this will be the day of Eid, they are declaring across the education board of that region that exams should not be on that day, so as to accommodate Muslim students. Now, some of the imams in the area are pondering: should we let them know that perhaps some people will have the Eid on the following day, which is the 5th? And some are saying, well, no, don't tell them this, because then it will become confusing for them. But what that misses is the fact that it's already very confusing for Muslims, and already very confusing even for non-Muslims who are trying to accommodate Muslims on what is going to be their special holiday. So to get around this problem, Muslims have to Muslim scholars, that is, they have to reach a solution. And the simple solution is to follow the calculated method, which can tell us in advance where the moon is going to be seen for the first time after its dark phase, where the new crescent is going to be sighted in which part of the world, where it's going to be sighted with naked eye, where it's going to be sighted with binoculars and telescopes, and so on. So we have that information already. It's just that some people think that the tradition goes against the use of modern calculation methods and modern scientific instruments, which is a mistake. Our tradition does not prevent us from using modern technology. Quite the contrary. The Prophet Muhammad, on whom be peace, was a practical man. He always chose the simplest method that was available before him to do things. And the simplest method in his time to know when a new month began was to sight the visible crescent for the first time after its dark phase. Now the simplest method for us is just to know in advance. We can know 3 years, several years in advance, where the new crescent will be seen and by which method. So it's a simple thing for Muslims worldwide to just adopt this calculation, which is available to everyone now, and call the days in advance based on this. And then non-Muslims who want to accommodate us by calling a holiday off school, or at least to defer exams away from that day, that they would have the reasonable data in front of them ahead of time so that they can plan for such accommodations.
Mm-hmm. What does the Quran say about Ramadan?
Well, the Quran itself, in the second chapter, the 185, 86th verse, speaks about the Quran having something to do with Ramadan. It says the month of Ramadan, in which the Quran has been revealed as a guidance for all humankind. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس. So it gives the special importance to Ramadan. That is the Quran that gives the importance to Ramadan. So we think of Ramadan as connected to the fasting, but in the first connection it has is with the Quran itself. It's the Quran that gives Ramadan its special importance. That's why God selected this month for the fasting as opposed to some other month.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we're looking forward to it.
Exactly. And so many Muslims make it a duty for themselves to read the entire Quran within the month. Now, the Quran is about 4/5 the size of the New Testament, so it's easily doable. The Bible is a longer book, so those who are familiar with the Bible may be familiar with like one-year Bibles, which is a Bible segmented to be read so many pages per day, so that you finish the book in 1 year. The Quran has been segmented into 30 segments in order to give Muslims a working plan. You can read one segment per day, one juz it is called in Arabic, so that in 30 days of the month you will finish the entire book. Now this year we're expecting Ramadan to be only 29 days, in which case you will have to read a couple of pages more or one page more per day to finish the entire book in the 1 month of 29 days.
Now, Dr. Shabir Ally, who has to fast during the month of Ramadan?
Okay, so fasting, let me just explain it for non-Muslims who are viewing this program. So fasting for Muslims entail that from dawn to sunset, we do not eat or drink. Not even drink. And Muslims can do this because many have been doing it since they were children, and they are already accustomed to doing so. But even adults who are doing this for the first time, it may prove challenging the first couple of days, but eventually your bodily system comes to be adjusted to that. You just know, and it's mind over matter. Once you've decided that you're going to do this, you have the determination, you can actually do it. So that may seem hard then, but what about if somebody is sick? Well, the Quran already makes an accommodation for that. If one is sick, one will fast an equal number of days when one gets better. If one does not expect to get better at all, one would give a fidya or compensation for each day of the fast, and it comes in the form of one meal for one poor person for each day of the fast. So in Canada, what's a meal? Maybe $10, but if you can also arrange for that feeding to be done in another part of the world where food is perhaps less costly and where there are more needy people. Then in that case, it might be like $5 for one meal, let's say. So 30 days times $5 would be $150 to give us compensation for, instead of fasting during the month itself.
What's your advice in terms of preparing for Ramadan?
Well, Muslims should start becoming conscious about the Quran itself, which was revealed during the month of Ramadan. Should start reading it more, pondering over its teachings, and start applying those teachings in our lives, so that when we enter Ramadan, we're entering Ramadan knowing that we are devout before God.
And how do you greet people during Ramadan?
Well, there is no special greeting that I know of in the that's mentioned to be traditional, but many Muslims will greet each other by saying Ramadan Mubarak. May the month of Ramadan be a blessed time for you.
Or Ramadan Kareem.
Ramadan Kareem, which means Ramadan is noble.
Thank you very much for that, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome.
We're looking forward to Ramadan.
Absolutely.
Hey YouTube, we hope you benefited from this video. If you liked it, or if you didn't, let us know in the comments below. And if you're interested in learning more, check out some of our other videos. And don't forget to subscribe so you can get new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.